England are heading for one of the most important friendlies in recent years. They face Iceland on Friday in what I believe is basically the most important game we are going to have as England for the next 2 years. We're going into the European Championships in just a couple of weeks. And for me, this friendly is absolutely massive. Making sure we get the right players on the pitch, making sure we know exactly which players we want to take to the European Championships is absolutely pivotal. We know what the likes of Eze can do. We know what Cole Palmer can do, what Ollie Watkins can do. But now it's time that we see what we are going to look like heading into the European Championships. Is Phil Foden going to be available to play on Friday? Is Kyle Walker and John Stones going to be able to play? These are big questions which I have. And even the likes of Kobbie Mainoo need to get an opportunity heading into this European Championships to play with the England shirt, to understand the pressure. Now, there's some big decisions which Gareth Southgate has got to make. We'll get into them at the end of this video. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below or in this top corner to stay tuned for all my latest England and Euro 2024 content, which is going to be coming your way over the next couple of months. We've obviously got this friendly on Friday night. We're then going to be doing a preview of each group over the next couple of weeks until the Euro starts. So make sure you do stay tuned to the channel, and let's now get into previewing this friendly on Friday. So England take the field at Wembley versus Iceland. Now, if you do remember back to when Roy Hodgson was manager, England got humbled by Iceland in, I believe it was a round of 16 game. I thought we were awful that day, and we play them again heading into this European 2024 Championships. And I think it's going to be really interesting to look at what Gareth Southgate decides to do with the players and who Gareth Southgate decides to play and how they set up, because we obviously saw it was Monday night. We saw Trent Alexander-Arnold playing in midfield. We saw Ezri Konsa at right back, Eze on the left, Cole Palmer through the middle. It's going to be really interesting to see, is Adam Wharton going to get a start? Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you do go and check out my review video from that friendly on Monday night. I talk all about my opinions and thoughts on how they set up for this game, and we're going to get into it in this video in a little bit more detail. Now, obviously, it says on there that Harry Kane is injured, but we know for a fact he isn't. He played just the other night in what was an impressive 3-0 win against Bosnia. And I thought we played excellently for the most part of the game. I thought it was a bit sloppy and lacklustre in the first half, but we controlled the game, created chances, and we could have gone a couple of goals up in that first half. We just didn't take our opportunities. Now, the second half was much better, sort of ran away with the game, especially towards the end after the penalty. And I think it'd be really interesting to see, is Gareth Southgate going to bring in the likes of Declan Rice into midfield? Is Kobbie Mainoo going to get some minutes? I personally would love to see Adam Wharton get 45 minutes in an England shirt. I think the way he played in the back end of the game the other night, I think if he has another good 45 minutes, I think he could play himself into the squad. We've obviously not seen Curtis Jones. We've not seen Anthony Gordon. We've not seen Jarell Quansah. I think Pickford will play the game again. I think there's no reason to change the goalkeeper. We know that Pickford is going to be number one. It'll be interesting to see if Ivan Toney starts or Harry Kane, or if Ivan Toney even gets on the pitch, because he's one of those players who I'm not sure about taking. I think Watkins has had the better season. Obviously, Toney obviously had that ban that he's had to contend with. And for me, I think going into this game, there is a few massive decisions for Gareth Southgate. If we do go through the squad, obviously, keeper-wise, I don't think you change anything. I think Pickford has to play because, in my opinion, by far our number one. There's no way that's going to change. You obviously then look at the defence. Obviously, we've seen Lewis Dunk now. We've seen Joe Gomez. I think Joe Gomez will probably start on Friday. Apparently, Luke Shaw has been training, so it'll be interested to see if he gets 45 minutes to half an hour. I don't think we'll see Quansah, in complete honesty. I'm interested to see if Kyle Walker and John Stones get on the pitch. Obviously, we know Maguire's had his injury issues, the same as Luke Shaw. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do get the opportunity to show themselves in this game on Friday. And I think the big thing about Friday for me is getting the team into this is how we're going to play first game of the Euros. This is the setup that we're going to go for. And that's why I think it's massively important for the likes of Kyle Walker, John Stones, Maguire, Luke Shaw to all be fit and at least be able to play 45 minutes, because that is what I want to see. I want to see the 11 that we're going to go into the European Championships with, and I don't think that's the 11 we saw the other night. I don't think Lewis Dunk starts at the Euros, if I'm honest with you. I personally don't want Dunk to go. I'd rather take Branthwaite and Guéhi with Stones and Maguire, and then take Konsa, Gomez, who can play either fullback as well. So what I think is massively important is that we get our proper sort of back five with goalkeeper in and playing 45 minutes. So for me, the back five would probably be Pickford, Walker, Stones, probably Maguire, and then Shaw at left back. I think we've got to get that going for at least half an hour, because obviously it's a massive decision to go into a European Championships and start with players that haven't played really, because obviously Luke Shaw hasn't played for ages. Maguire's sort of been up and down with fitness this season as well. So it's just one of those for me where it's going to be interesting to see what does happen on Friday. We obviously then go into midfield. I think I know we're not going to see Jude Bellingham because he's not back with the squad until the 8th. I think we've got to get Declan Rice on the pitch and Kobbie Mainoo. We need to get them playing together. I think Gallagher was excellent the other night. I think he has to go. Maddison, I'm on a 50-50 with him because I think he's very similar to a Jack Grealish. And I'm sort of 50-50 on Grealish as well. I think Grealish offers a little bit more. Obviously, we've not seen Curtis Jones, so it could be a situation where Curtis Jones and Adam Wharton get 45 minutes. That would be interesting to see, in my opinion, within the second half of the game. But I think we have to start with what would essentially be our midfield, our strongest midfield that we have available. So take Bellingham out. I think we have to go Rice, Mainoo, and then probably Palmer ahead of those two in the 10. I think in the 10 usually it's going to be Jude Bellingham. I don't even think that's a discussion topic. But then it's the question of the likes of, is Phil Foden going to be able to play? Is Anthony Gordon going to be able to play? Obviously, you look on this list, Gordon wasn't fit enough to play last night. Foden obviously played in the FA Cup final, so he wasn't available. And Ivan Toney hasn't got on the pitch yet. So I don't think Bukayo Saka has either. So it's going to be interesting to see these players getting their opportunities. Obviously, I think Ivan Toney's got a leg up on a lot of players in that sort of forward area because his ability on penalties is ridiculous. And if you're going into like a semi-final or something, do you want an Ivan Toney on the bench who's cool, calm and collected in a penalty situation where he can win you a game? Obviously, in my opinion, we've got loads of penalty takers in this squad. Kane takes them for Bayern. Toney at Brentford. I think Bowen takes the penalties at West Ham. Saka, I think, takes some of the penalties at Arsenal. Foden's taken penalties. Palmer is, in my opinion, one of the best penalty takers in the league. So it's one of those where we're sort of in a blessed position when it comes to penalties for once in our life as England fans. And I personally think that we need to see Ivan Toney at some point and Anthony Gordon. I think Anthony Gordon offers something a lot different to the likes of Jared Bowen and Jack Grealish and Phil Foden and Eberechi Eze. I think Gordon offers that outright pace and that getting into the channels and getting in behind, and that's something that we need to see, and something that we're going to need in the Euros, in my opinion. Now, obviously, we had Marcus Rashford for that in the World Cup, and I know it's harsh that Rashford's not in this squad, but I don't think he deserves to be in. And you get a lot of Man United fans that complain when squads are picked based on who the manager likes and that it should be picked on form. But then as soon as you drop one of their favourites who has had a terrible season, they kick off. And would I rather have Marcus Rashford in my squad over an Anthony Gordon at full capacity? Absolutely. But do I think Anthony Gordon in the end could end up better than Marcus Rashford? In my opinion, I think there's a possibility there. I think Anthony Gordon does some excellent work at Newcastle. It's going to be really interesting to see if he does get 45 minutes, half an hour with obviously the England team before the Euros, because I think if he doesn't, I think he probably gets dropped. My front three or four for what I'd consider the first 45 minutes of this friendly on Friday is I would start Kane up front, Palmer, Foden on the left, Saka on the right, purely because I think you need to start your front three. Front four. I do think Anthony Gordon and Ivan Toney should get on at half time for 45 minutes. Obviously, see a bit more of Jack Grealish, a bit more of Jared Bowen. Not going to complain. Obviously, even get Eze on the pitch as well. But for me, you've got to play what you'd consider your best 11 for at least 45 minutes. And that's what I think Southgate will do. And if we can, I'm going to go back and look at the game just before the Euros. Not the Euros, the World Cup. So let's go back to... No, we're in 2021. When was it? 2022. It was over Christmas. Right? Yeah, so we go to the Nations League game just before the World Cup, because obviously we didn't really get the friendlies. We obviously drew 3-3 in what was a 3-5-2 at the time. And I don't think... Yeah, and obviously you look at that team that played then in that game. Obviously that game was played when? September of 2022, and you had what? Shaw, you had James, Dyer, Pope, all of these players playing. You look on the bench at the players that were on the bench, Mason Mount not involved, Jordan Henderson not involved. If you look at this squad here, you've got James isn't involved, Sterling's not involved, Dyer's not involved, Pope's not involved. And if you then go forward to the game against Iran, which we won 6-2, and look at the lineup, it's a completely different system because we wasn't able to get those friendly matches in. Now, a lot of the players are still the same. Now, there's no James, there's no Pope, there's no Dyer. You've got Mount in midfield. Obviously, Sterling's involved, and then on the bench, you did take Dyer, obviously, and then Grealish, Rashford, Foden, Callum Wilson, another player who's not involved this time round. So, for me, it's massive that we do get that opportunity to show our starting 11, or at least a base 8 or 9 players. Now, obviously, it's going to be a big game Friday. Not in the sense of the game is massive and has a lot riding on it, in the sense of we've got to prepare right. And that's something which I think England did really well heading into the post-COVID tournament. I think we prepared really, really well, got ourselves to the final, obviously failed to capitalise, and I think that was purely because we didn't have someone of the capabilities of a now 20-year-old Jude Bellingham, Eberechi Eze, who I think has to be in the squad. We didn't have players like Adam Wharton, who I think is showing something that England haven't had for a very long time. Obviously, you've got Declan Rice, who's a similar sort of style player, but I think Declan Rice likes that ability to go. He's not a natural 6, in my opinion. He's more of a roaming 8, in my opinion. He can get on the ball, get forward. Obviously, he can break up the play. He's more of a defensive-minded playmaker, and I think Adam Wharton's ability to move the ball about is going to be absolutely pivotal. Now, if you have not done so already, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. There'll be a review video out on Saturday morning, so make sure you do come back to the channel and check that one out, or turn on the notification bell to get notified whenever I do upload. It's going to be an absolutely massive few weeks, especially with the European Championships coming up. The transfer window should start hotting up soon. We're obviously on the 4th of June as I'm recording this, and it's going to be massive to see what Derby County do in the window. It's going to be massive to see how the European Championships affects player deals, obviously with the Premier League, the Championship. Obviously, you're going to have certain teams that have players who will be at the Euros, so it's going to be really interesting to see how teams prepare. And if you are wanting to stay tuned for all the latest Derby County, England and Euro 2024 content, make sure you do hit that subscribe button. Hit the like button to push the video to new audiences. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'll catch you in my next video. Make sure to go and find me on TikTok, pictured here, and Twitter, pictured here. These are the places where I'll keep you all up to date with all my upcoming videos and my thoughts and feelings around the Formula 1 and football weekend.